I'm not going to let someone else tell me that I don't deserve to be happy because they don't believe they do themselves. So the hurt people are hurting people. Damaged people damage people. I mean, there's many different aspects in life on why we may not feel like we're good enough, and it can apply to different avenues. There's times where we may not feel good enough in a relationship, where we feel like we can't provide as much as our partner can. Or there could be times where we don't feel good enough in a friendship, where we feel like we're, again, not reciprocating the same way that a friend is showing up for us. Or it could be in a job role or in an environment that demands more of you and for you to actually perform and be able to set a standard for a company or a corporation, and you can think you're not fit for the role. And each thing can feel very different to the other, but it typically comes down to the same thing. And it can be about self-worth and all the other stuff you see out there that's trying to give you almost a band-aid to cover up the symptoms of what's really wrong, as opposed to really going with the causes. But times that really make us feel like we're not good enough, and when we're sat there questioning over and over in our minds, and we're playing over all these different scenarios, conversations that we had 3 weeks ago, that we could have said something different that everyone else had already forgotten about, but we're still laying there at 3 a.m. questioning, why didn't I say this? Why was that my answer? And we think that because of what we did in that moment, that it completely defines us. So we can sit there and we can think we're not good enough for this, because comparison can really come into play in these times where, let's say, for example, you see a really happy couple. You see two people that seem like they're deeply in love, and you yearn for that and you really want that. And then you compare yourself to what you've seen there with that couple, what she looked like, what he looked like, how he was dressed, what he was providing. And you can sit there and question, I can't do that. So if I'm unable to match my idea of what that version has to exist, or what that type of person you have to be to enjoy that side of life, you can question, am I even good enough to be deserving of that? Can I have that great relationship when I don't feel like I'm who I need to be to enjoy it? And again, we can apply it in many different ways, but it typically does come down to the comparison we have of ourselves with other people. And you'll hear people say comparison is a thief of joy, but it's not so much the fact that that is stealing our joy. We're stealing it from ourselves by constantly sitting in this cycle of questioning all the time. What can I do different? How can I be different? How can I behave different? How will people like me more if I behave in a different manner to who I really am? So by questioning over and over again, why do I not feel like I'm good enough? We have to sit back and really reflect and say, what actually is causing me to feel like I'm not good enough? Because one thing that can happen quite a lot is we can blame ourselves for something that someone else has imposed on us. So someone else could have spoken to us in a certain way. They could have spoken down to us, made us feel like we're the type of person that we're actually not, but they were just portraying the way they feel about themselves onto us by saying we're not attractive, by saying that they could do better, by throwing out little threats or whatever it may be to make you feel a certain type of way in a relationship that makes you question who you really are, because that person's external words became your internal words and you believed the lies that they portrayed out to you. So the issue isn't so much of you have a massive self-worth problem, or there's actually an issue with yourself, of how you look or how you dress or how people perceive you. The issue is you've now changed the perspective you have on yourself based on the thoughts or feelings that someone else has imposed on you. So although you could be the brightest star in the room, but it feels dimmed because all you can remind yourself of is how someone else made you feel off one comment or one remark they made towards you. So it's not so much that you are not this amazing person and you're not someone that deserves the best and that you're not worthy of being even happy, the most basic need of a human, to feel happy, to feel safe, to feel secure. It's because a damaged person made you feel damaged. And they damaged you with the weight and the burden of how they really felt about themselves. And their way of supplementing how they really felt about themselves was by bringing you down to their level to make them feel like they was above you. So with all that being said, of someone imposing their thoughts, feelings and emotions onto you, and you buying that as your new belief system, as the way you now view yourself, as your new mirror or proof of concept of who you are, you've bought that and you've enabled that to become your identity. And that's no fault of your own, because over time, and you're being told the same message over and over, that you're not good enough, that you're not deserving, that you can't go and do this. As mentioned, someone's external words can become your internal. So from this point on, when you do feel those times and you do find yourself in that situation where you're sat there at 2 a.m. thinking scenarios over and over in your head, you're reminding yourself of previous conversations. Why didn't I say this? Why didn't I do that? And you're panicking about what's going to happen tomorrow when you have to face these people again, and how am I going to deal with it, and how am I going to perform in my role when I don't feel like I even deserve it. When you're in those situations, just remind yourself that your power is only gone for as long as you allow someone else to hold it. Because your power is yours. And for as long as you're going to continue giving it to other people, only then is your light going to continue to be dimmed. So remind yourself when you're in that situation, or when you feel that overwhelming urge or that surge of not feeling good enough, imposter syndrome, and all the things that contribute to that emotion of feeling worthlessness. Remind yourself that your power can come back to you at any time. And I've discussed this in several of my videos, one of which being self-worth, self-belief as well, that really ties into this. And when you remind yourself how to actually build that back up, and you take your power back and the authority over how you really feel, and you no longer seek external evidence that how you feel is only dictated by what other people say about you, then you're going to start to notice the people around you shift and change. Because now you're going to have a different level of standard that you hold for yourself. I'm not going to allow someone else to take how I feel about myself away from me. I'm not going to let someone else tell me how good I am, how great I am. I'm not going to let someone else tell me that I don't deserve to be happy because they don't believe they do themselves. So hurt people are hurting people. Damaged people damage people. So we just have to accept that some people don't want to become better. They don't want to work on themselves. And their way of dealing with what they're going through is inflicting that same pain on others, because misery loves company. So with that being said, when you're feeling those moments, just remind yourself you do deserve better, and you can take your power back at any time. And it's only down to you to make that decision, because the longer you allow someone else to take it from you is the longer you're going to continue to keep seeking how to get back to who you are.